and Ig. How you guys doing?
Doing well, keeping it together.
Yeah.
Looking forward to fall finally coming.
Oh,
Sweater
really?
weather is upon us.
Really? But it gets so cold. Like you don't get anxious
Well,
about the
I
weather
like the fall
change?
time. I'm not a winter fan, but like spring and fall are kind of my where I like to be. Summer's hot. I can deal with the hot, but I've got a lot of hoodies and things that I just like to wear. So like fall time's perfect for that kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like, when we were kids, Cynic, I'm sure you remember the winters being far more, far worse than they are now. They're pretty relatively mild. We'll probably get like 2 weeks of like cold weather, but otherwise it's not terrible out here.
I'll have you know, Ryan, I was never a child. I've always been this age.
Yeah. I feel like I was never been an adult, but yeah, especially given the weekend that I had. But
Yeah,
so like
let's talk about that.
yeah, so it's a busy weekend. So obviously, like this is always like the big weekend for me. Well, there like October has two things: it's New York Comic Con and then the dog parade. And this year actually the dog parade was pretty interesting. So it's the Tompkins Square Park Dog Parade. I think it's the 34th one, and we do it every year. And like my wife and I always go a little crazy with our dog costumes. But I guess the parade itself, it has gotten so large that like the person that actually like organizes it has basically said, "I'm done." So there are questions as to whether it will happen again, moving forward, because it is a large. I mean, it's a legitimate parade. It spans about from 13th Street in the Village down to 7th Street. And there are thousands of people and hundreds of people with dogs, and you're walking through, and it's a massive event. And then you have the city, led by our wonderful mayor, they just kind of dragged their feet in getting this thing approved. And so it was really a last minute kind of affair, and it happened. It's fun, it's great, it's always a good time, and I'm kind of concerned that maybe it might be the last of it, if people don't kind of jump up and take it over.
That's a shame because I always look forward to seeing your pictures and what your wife talked you into that year.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, no, it's more what I talked her into. Although this year she won. Like I was gonna do Beetlejuice, and she decided she wanted to do Peter Pan, and so she did win that argument. Which I'm kind of glad, because there was about a million Beetlejuices. The best one though in the parade, I will say, there's somebody that they had a wheelchair with like a giant like Bob dummy, and their little Chihuahua with its tongue sticking out was like the head popped out like the shrunken head Bob in Beetlejuice. So that it was if you haven't seen that photo, find it. It was adorable. I remember seeing that, and like we were like, yeah, that's good. That's a good one. Let's get away from them so that we don't lose all the attention.
I saw the pictures that you guys put up over the weekend on that and everything, and I saw your Smee costume with
Yeah.
your Nike shoes on. Like everybody else is like really like
Yeah.
all the way down to the shoes,
Yeah.
and you're like, this is enough.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
don't need to do all the
Yeah, I
things.
stop it at the knees, right? I had blue shorts, but they were Under Armour, but I like blue shorts and then my Nikes. But yeah, it's about the dogs.
There was one point where I had a part-time job and they had Ninja Turtle costumes and they
Yeah.
picked people to be Ninja Turtles for the day for kids to come in and take pictures with. And of course, one of the wise-ass kids goes, "Hey, he's wearing shoes," because you can see just a little gap between the floor and the costume.
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Shut up, kid! You're ruining it for everybody, including me."
Seriously. Yeah. So Ig is that kid right now. So, all right. So the other big thing was Comic Con. New York Comic Con was this year, which is a lot of fun. Because it was the parade. It kind of like I typically will go all 4 days, but I could only go. I went three. Because of the parade. It did some interesting stuff. So, I didn't go to as many panels as I wanted to. There was like a House of the Dragon panel that I just couldn't. But I'll say we did go to see the Penguin. We went to the Penguin panel, which was really cool. It was good. Which had most of the lead cast, or most of the main cast in Penguin were on it. It was really interesting. They talked. It had the guy who does most of the makeup for the Penguin, and it was pretty awesome. Like it was I mean, he does such a good job, and it was really interesting hearing him talk about that process. And I got to see a little clip. We also got to see what there was a Sony panel, and they aired some footage from. So a really cool thing happened actually. Like I'm not very interested in Craven the Hunter, although they did air the first scene from the movie, and it actually is pretty. It seems pretty cool. Like the violence, if nothing else, has got some pretty innovative violence. But one really cool thing happened, which was that there was obviously it's Comic Con, so you have a lot of people that were dressed up as Craven, and Aaron Taylor Johnson was there, and he was having a great time. And they basically had everybody that was dressed up as Craven got to come on the stage and take a picture with him, which I thought was really cool. So you had a lot of people that were super, stoked to go up and take a picture with him. They also had they also had.
Do you want to pause for a second?
Yep.
He's gonna pop on.
Oh, Justin's gonna pop on. All right, when he pops on, he'll just pop on. That's fine. So
that's kind of cool though when somebody is willing to do those things.
Yeah.
And be around the fans. And I know a lot of times, especially when they're at those things, there's so much going on. They don't always want to be around too many people, because like at San Diego when they did the Robert Downey Jr. thing, I know they snuck him in and probably snuck him out.
Yeah.
Like he enjoys the adulation at arm's distance.
Yeah.
Right. Hey, this is great. Stand out there, cheer for me. I feel great. Don't come
Yeah.
up here and touch me.
Yeah.
But then you get people that are like, yeah, no, bring them up here. Let's take pictures. Let's do some cool shit.
Yeah.
That's exciting.
That's the difference of the level of fame.
Yeah.
When you're trying to reach the Robert Downey Jr., when you want that top shelf, that's the type of stuff you do. And once you
Yeah.
get there, you no longer have to do that.
Yeah. Well, it was a cool moment. And also like Aaron Taylor Johnson got jacked for it, and so it's funny. I was taking the elevator or escalator down and asked a couple guys, "Hey, what was like meeting him?" He's like, "Yeah, I got to shake his hand. He's strong." Like they were just commenting on how strong he was, like his grip when he's shaking their hands. But he seemed really jacked and I mean both I guess energy wise in addition to size. But he was really excited. And then there was also a Venom panel. Tom Hardy was on it, and the director for Venom, and that was also really cool. I love the first two Venom movies. They're dumb, they're not great movies, but I love Tom Hardy giving it his all, for this character. And they showed some clips from that. That also seemed pretty, it seemed like I'm excited to see it. I'm gonna go see it this weekend.
Well, I'm more excited for Venom than Craven for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Although, like I said, I will say Craven had a nice little nice intro. But yeah, it's like I'm not still not sold on it, but yeah, Venom will be fine. I mean, there's a horse Venom at one point, and they showed that scene, so that it looks like it's gonna be pretty cool. And the other, so we also got to see What We Do in the Shadows panel, which we got to see the first two episodes. I know it dropped yesterday, so if you haven't seen it yet, are you guys?
Did they drop both episodes? I watched one.
I think they dropped 3 today, because we saw 2 at Comic-Con, and they said the first 3 would release. We're all going to release on Monday, so they should all be available. But they're hilarious. Like, it's such a good show. It's sad that it's the final. It's going to be the final season of it. But excited to excited for more What We Do in the Shadows. And then the last panel I went to that was actually really good was it was an SNL panel, but it was with the makeup artist, the kind of like the main guy that does all the makeup and prosthetics. And that was actually really interesting, kind of hearing about his process and just kind of the pressure that he's under. Because when you look at it, it's like, whether you like SNL or not, they do an amazing job with their props and with their makeup. And the fact that he's got to do this with like kind of movie quality props and makeup in no time is actually really impressive. And so that was really interesting to hear him talk about his process. So it's good. So yeah, I had a good time at Comic-Con. It's a really good cosplay. I'm gonna try to post some pictures of some of the stuff that we saw, but as usual, it's always a good time.
Did you guys cosplay this year?
No, not this year. This year was kind of like, it's gonna be the dogs or Comic-Con, not both.
You couldn't have reused one of your old costumes?
It's weird. I'm weird about that. Like, I don't want to. You're right. I totally could have, but for whatever reason, I was like, I don't want to. So, I was motivated though. So I saw some cool stuff. There was also one other thing I did that was really cool. There was like a pitch contest. I didn't win, but it was like a contest where in front of authors, like 20 people got to pitch their story ideas, and I got some really good feedback. And I had several people come up to me and say, you should have won. So that's always good. Like that people were like, yeah, that was really good. You should have won that. Like that, whether or not they were telling the truth. But I think they were telling the truth because they came up to me and said it, not like I was like seeking people out. But that was cool. But yeah, so that was my like Comic-Con adventure. So it was a lot of fun. But other than that, I'm waiting for Justin to come on because we could talk a little sports. But Cynic,
what was the best cosplay you saw there? Like, if you had to pick somebody that just really stood out.
I mean, there, it varies because you've got like the really good. Like, there's actually a guy that I know that had a really good Galactus. It was like excellent. um there's really good quality stuff, and then there's just some really funny ones. Like, I saw a really good Nadia from two really good Nadias from What We Do in the Shadows. One was just like she just had an amazing dress and like the doll, and another one which was like a woman who looked really good with as Nadia. She had a little bat umbrella with the bat, and then she had her friend who was dressed up like her doll, which is also like really cute. So that was really good. We saw there was a good one. There was a guy. So and I'll explain why, but kind of a jacked black guy dressed as Freddy Krueger. But what he would do, I'll post video of this. He would scream, "I'm black," instead of saying "I'm back" with the claws and everything. I got a kick out of that. That was just really funny. But yeah, there's always a bunch of good cosplay. But so we'll turn a bit to sports. So Cynic, the Mets have been eliminated. Justin probably cried for a bit after that happened. But who's your pick between the Dodgers and the Yankees in the World Series?
That's really tough because they're matched up well.
Yeah.
Like strength and weaknesses are pretty much the same. It really could be anybody's series, which will make it a lot of fun. The New Yorker in me, of course, always wants to see the Yankees do well, and this team as a whole probably isn't going to be together next year. So you got to kind of make hay where the Dodgers do have most of their people signed long term.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't mind seeing the Yankees go over in this one.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy that this is the Yankees' first time in the World Series since what, 2009?
Yeah, it's been a while. But I mean, there's been teams, because when we were looking, it was like the last time the Indians had been there was like 97 or 98 maybe, and then before that they hadn't won since 48. So there's teams that are going through a lot more leaner years.
Exactly.
Yeah. So when somebody says, "Oh, it's been a while," 2009, I'm like, "Shut the hell up."
Yeah. Well, it's like growing. It's like kind of growing up with the Yankees. It's like,
well, I'm a Twins fan here from Minnesota. 91 was the last time we were in the World Series. So I'm like, "Oh, 2009."
So we're complaining about
for you.
Yeah. No, it's like an embarrassment of riches, right? They're always in the playoffs.
Well, they are getting a new owner soon, so maybe they'll actually spend more than $4.50 on a roster.
Oh, the Twins? Yeah, absolutely. Because I mean, I'm so glad they're going to sell the team because they were just penny pinching, and they went from one penny pinching owner to another penny pinching owner because Calvin Griffith owned them before. Huge racist, awful person. I can't believe they actually built a statue for him, but I guess because he brought the team to Minnesota out of Washington, they built a statue. It's not a big statue. It's not a great statue, but he's a piece of shit. And then the Pohlads that have owned it lately just don't want to spend any money. I'm like, you got the state to build you a new stadium. You threatened to take the team away, and the state buckled and built you a new stadium, and you still won't spend any money. Awful.
Yeah. It's something tough with sports, and especially I know baseball's always had that issue of like,
that's why they need to do a salary cap.
Yeah.
That's my belief in the salary cap is like, it shouldn't be who can raise the most money can build the best team. It should be, let's get some parity. That's why the NFL is almost always good games because you can't just run away with things because you can't afford to keep everybody.
But the problem is it's like trying to get Congress to pass term limits, right?
Yeah.
The players don't want it. The owners, they say
Some
they
owners
don't
want it.
They say they want it, but the owners that are spending money don't. Because of course that gives them the competitive advantage. They've done a lot of things to even the playing ground. The Yankees used to make more in their radio rights than most teams made for their TV rights. And they used to make more in merchandise than most people made for their TV rights. And that's not the case anymore. Now it goes into a big pool and it's divided amongst teams. That's why every once in a while when you're at a game, you'll see the opposing team's merchandise in the stadium that you're in because it all goes into the kitty.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. I mean, yeah, it's tough. I know baseball's always had that issue with parity, which is where some of the bigger market teams could just outspend everybody. But yeah, because it's crazy. What's Soto gonna get? Like, what kind of contract?
I don't think he's gonna get what Ohtani's gotten because Ohtani was signed as a pitcher and a hitter, even though he didn't pitch this year. But it's gonna be close. I mean, he really showed in the brightest lights, he showed what kind of player he is. That's really what pushed these two teams over the top, was the play of Otani and Soto.
Yeah.
So they're showing that there is levels to this game, and they're standing on the very tippy top.
Yeah, no, seriously, yeah. So yeah, he's gonna get a big contract. I don't know if the Yankees are gonna pay up or who will, but
Well,
he's
the
definitely earning it.
Yankees have historically been willing to pay top dollar for stuff,
Yeah.
but they've also got Aaron Judge sitting on their roster that takes a bunch of money, and
Yeah.
they've got players that they're already given big money to, and not that the Dodgers don't, but because they've also got Mookie Betts and other people playing.
Freddie
for the Dodgers
Freeman,
yeah. They've got some big payroll.
I
out
believe
there
they're
too.
the highest payroll. If not, then they're second to the Mets. The Mets, I believe, was the highest. Might have been the highest payroll this year. But one thing that really stood out to me during this was the last game between the Mets, or the Yankees and the Guardians. Juan Soto put on the at bat of a lifetime, where he just kept fouling off pitches and taunting the pitcher to come in. They were losing the game at that point. He finally came in with a fastball, and he absolutely murdered it. And it was. Since Barry Bonds, I'd never seen someone own a pitcher in that way, where you're not getting past me, you're not going to get me out, and eventually you're going to have to throw me a strike.
Yeah.
And that's what happened, and it really was next level play.
Yeah. Yeah. No.
The Major League Baseball Network called it the best at bat they'd ever seen in their whole lives. One of the analysts, and I agree.
Yeah.
Like, it was, because I was just sitting there, because I'm constantly doing commentary anyway, and I'm like, if they throw him a fastball, he's going to murder it, and they're dumb if they pitch to him, and they did.
Yeah.
It was after like 10, 11 pitches, and he absolutely killed it.
When's game one? Is that tomorrow?
Friday, I believe.
Friday. Okay. So that's some day. Okay.
Yeah, because they had to schedule it in case they were going all the way out to.
Oh my God!
To Game 7.
Well, welcome.
What an adventure!
What happened to your Wi-Fi?
So I'm I'm in Atlantic City, but I'm in my friend's house, my neighbor. I just drove all the way from Nashville. I got a new car today, and I literally got some food and was walking in the door when I saw the messages.
Okay.
And I had to get my the Wi-Fi from them, and it was crazy.
So and you're eating while we're recording. Actually, somebody stole my food. I'm pissed. I was like,
what
going
food?
to grab. Huh? It was like food from cafeteria. I always take we get free food here, and so I always I grab food for dinner, and somebody took my dinner.
Well, that's annoying.
Well, Justin, so we were talking baseball. Your thoughts? My condolences.
Hey man, no complaints. Right? We weren't supposed to be there. We had an amazing season full of memories. They lost to the better team. Moneybags will re-up them next year, and I how could I complain about that? It was so great. It was such a great season. I'm glad the Yankees are in there. I hope they destroy the Dodgers. I hate the Dodgers, and it's just good. It's good for New York. It was great for the Mets, and it was just a thrilling season. And I just am very happy how it all went down. Yeah. No complaints.
The clock definitely. It turned to 12 on them, and they turned into a pumpkin. But I mean, they far exceeded anything that anybody thought they would do. Yeah. They went into this season with the idea that they weren't going to be competitive. This was not a season that they were going to go for it. And it shows by them doing absolutely nothing at the trade deadline, and they got there on pure talent and skill and a lot of fucking luck.
And once, I think Cohen is going to. Now he sees this. He's like, well, we got something. He's going to shell out for some of the big free agents, and younger guys are going to keep developing. I'm happy. This looks to me like for the next few years, we're going to be competitive.
You can't overpay for Alonso. That's the only thing. That's the only mistake I think they would make.
Yeah, but there's no such thing as overpaying.
Yeah, well, see, we were going to get into this before you came on. There actually is, because the Yankees are at the point now where I think it's once you hit year 3 of being over the cap, then you're dollar for dollar. So if you spend $30 million on somebody, that's actually 60. So it really does. I mean, it does eat into the budget.
Luxury taxes.
Yeah, the luxury tax. Once you're on the top floor of that, it's you only got a couple years to get under, or you really start to pay.
But a lot of money is coming off the books this next year.
Yeah,
so there'll be a lot to play with.
Oh yeah, you absolutely
Cohen.
do. But
it's play money for him. It's monopoly money. He's so wealthy. And the Mets are a profitable business. He doesn't care if he makes money on it. He just wants to have a good time, I think, and not lose money.
Yeah, but 2 or 3 years from, if you sign, say, Alonso for 4 years, 2 years from now, he's not going to be able to hit the fastball. And then what will you do with him? Then you're going to
Yeah.
have to eat that contract.
I don't
So
know if they're going to sign him.
No, I don't think they should. I really don't. I mean, I know that he had some dramatic moments in this playoff run, but I don't think he's the player he was, and I don't think he ever will be.
I don't think they're going to sign him. I think they'll give him an offer. He won't take it.
Yeah.
I think they're going to try to sign Soto big time. I think they're going to try to sign Tyler Glasnow. That's going to be the biggest thing, and they're going to try to get some nice bullpen help.
But he's another one. He's beautiful when he's on the mound, but he can't stay healthy.
Yeah.
He's been hurt basically all year for the Dodgers.
Yeah, that is true.
So, shifting gears a little bit. So one other New York related thing, an embarrassment of riches for us. Liberty just won the
Good.
WNBA title.
Boo! Boo!
Yeah.
Against my team, against the Lynx. Yeah.
Yeah, my condolences to you too. But
Well, that was, we lost on reffing, so we didn't legitimately lose that. We lost on reffing.
Yeah, it's still a win for New York. Thank you very much. Too bad we didn't bet peanut butter cups again like we used to with the Mets and the Yankees.
Listen, man, I've never gotten any
Twins
peanut
and
butter
the
cups
Yankees
from any of those bets, so I'm almost done doing it
because you've never won.
I know.
So
yeah, I actually became a Brianna Stewart fan over the Olympics, and I was happy to see them, and it's their first ever title, which is kind of cool too.
Exactly.
Yeah, I was hoping we were going to win because that would be our 5th for the WNBA.
So you don't need another one.
Yeah, anything to keep New York out of championships is good.
An embarrassment of riches that nobody cares about.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I mean, WNBA is getting a little. It's definitely growing in popularity.
Yeah, it is.
It might be off the backs of one player, but it seems to have had a bit of an effect on the league as a whole.
That brings a legitimacy with it. It's still like when you win a championship, there's something to it.
I mean, not to compare Clark to Jordan because it's not even close, but the NBA was kind of dying before Bird and Magic and before Jordan. So sometimes all it takes is one player, or one good rivalry.
Absolutely. I mean we saw that with we've seen it with other MMA. We've seen that kind of thing. Like a lot of its growth has been on the backs of like one or two big fighters and big fights, and then it explodes in popularity. So speaking of the John Jones Stipe fight's coming up, right?
It is. It's also going to take place in Penn Station or Madison Square Garden.
Yeah. Your picks. I'll go around.
John Jones all day.
Yeah.
Stipe's been done for a while now. Why do you think he hasn't fought in 2 years? It's not because he's waiting for Jones. It's because he a couple fights before he got his clock cleaned. He's on the downward slide. Yeah, but make your money.
Yeah. Well, MMA is not like boxing either, where you have longer spurts between fights.
Yeah.
MMA is like if you're not fighting, you're losing skill.
Yeah. So no, it's true. I think Jones is like the anomaly there because like he can go some time, but Stipe probably not. He's on definitely on the back end of his career. Jones is he's been around for a long time, but he's still relatively young and prime age, and he hasn't fought a ton. So I think he should win. Now, should he have fought a guy like Tom Aspinall?
Well, that's the problem.
I definitely think so.
That's the problem. Is there's a better fight out there for him. And, and I get that this is a draw, and they probably would make more money, but I think it would equal out as far as the interest to see what would happen against Aspinall.
I think Aspinall would be a great draw.
Yeah, I think it would make him into a good draw. So I think Jones would bring the eyeballs.
Yeah,
Aspinall on his personality, I think would then build his own star because I think he's got a really great personality. He's a good guy. He's articulate. And somebody who you can root for, and I think that he would get fans on that. But I don't know that he'd necessarily bring casuals. The
narrative, if Jones beats Aspinall, well, now he's the greatest of all time. I mean, beating which he is already, I think. Yeah. But it's like this solidifies like the uber legend status, the Babe Ruth, the Michael Jordan of MMA, the GOAT beyond anything. Instead, he just fights another guy who's sort of, at the end of his career. To me, I think it's a lot more risk. I don't know if he can beat Aspinall at this point. Yeah. I mean, he can, but it's a big guy and it's a big risk.
Yeah, it is. No, absolutely. So I think it's like if he beat Aspinall, I think it would cement him as, okay, this is the greatest fighter ever. There's no question.
Well, the problem is if he beats Aspinall, there's really no one left.
Yeah.
the heavyweight division isn't once what it was. You know, there's not.
Well, then
big
they're going to have
names
to
out
bring
there.
Francis back.
But he
That would
might be
the
done
thing.
anyway. I think he might be done after this fight, regardless. I don't think he's fighting again. You know, this might be it. I think
Well, he's been kind of whistling that tune for a while now. After every fight, he's like, "Oh, I don't know if I want to do it anymore." You know, it's the same thing. These guys, they sit stagnant, waiting for the money fight. Fucking Nick Diaz is coming back. Who asked for
that's
that?
so weird.
Nobody wants to see Nick Diaz fight. Every time he comes, he takes 3 to 4 years off between fights, and he comes back and he's worse. Like, he couldn't knock out anybody before, but he could jiu-jitsu a little bit. But now the game's caught up with these guys, and they're not special anymore. Now they're average. And they just look worse and worse and worse every time they come back. Same, Nate's sitting on the sideline waiting for the money fight. I just don't think it's going to happen for any of them. And I don't know what the fuck Connor's doing. Like, they teased that Michael Chandler fight forever. Then he should have been eligible to get back into the pool, and then they pushed the fight and they changed it.
Yeah, no, he's been done. I think he's checked out. He's been checked out for a long time.
Yeah, I don't think we'll ever see Connor again. And
Well,
I
he
couldn't
just
care less.
He wants to be the Twitter heavyweight champion because he can't do anything else.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, well, let's get to a couple little pop culture news before we get to what we've been watching. They finally this is dear to my heart. They've announced a Voltron movie starring Henry Cavill, who seems to be in like every genre universe. But does it mean as much to you guys as it does to me?
I mean, I got to see how they're doing it. I had this theory about Voltron growing up that if the reason why kids were depressed is if they only caught the first 15 minutes of Voltron when everything seemed like it was hopeless and then they had to go eat dinner. They never got resolution or joy of seeing Voltron overcome because they really did know how to bring the thunderous despair in the first half of the Voltron episode.
Yeah, they were always, and it's kind of like all the Voltron episodes were like CSI, right? You know, something's gonna happen, there's gonna be a twist, and then Voltron's gonna come save the day and make the sword.
The end all be all though was Voltron was fucked in the first part of the episode.
Yeah. Did you guys?
The lion is dead.
Did you guys watch the Netflix series they had over the last few years?
I watched some.
It's pretty good. Yeah,
but it's animated, so don't expect Senek to watch it.
Yeah, that's right. No, it's pretty good. It'll be interesting. I wonder how they're gonna do this. How they're gonna do it. Obviously, it's gonna be heavy CGI. But I'm in. Like I've always loved Voltron, so I'm excited to see what they come up with for this. And again, Henry Cavill's he's always good. Like he's been, what this is like his 3rd or 4th genre now. Like he was, obviously Superman. He was The Witcher. What else? He's in Bond. He's been kind of in everything.
Yeah,
but the best is still the Calvarine.
Yeah, that was amazing. That was that. Like once I saw that, I was like, all right, this is good. This movie could suck the rest of the way, but they actually found a way to include the cavalry.
He needs to be the next Wolverine.
Yeah,
like they can't fuck that up.
I don't know. It's probably not going to happen. But
now they're going to have Hugh Jackman until he's 90.
Yeah, seriously. All right, and then so then they also announced at Comic-Con. So Daredevil Born Again is going to be coming out March 2025. Are you excited about that?
Oh, totally excited about that. I wish they'd, the problem I have is that like they tease things and they tell you things and then you got to wait 3 or 4 years for it to actually happen. Yeah. And I'm like, when they started putting Daredevil into She-Hulk, I was like, maybe they're going to like speed this up now, like get some things moving. Because I was like, can we just really have some of this happening? Can we really just get some of this moving?
He's too short to turn the light back on.
Oh, I know. He's got to run over and do a jig in front of the light switch so it turns back on.
How many times did you have to jump up there to turn it back on?
When they do this stuff and then they wait so long, I think, a lot of people talk about fatigue, right? You get Marvel fatigue, too many things coming out. But I think there's such a thing as like forgetfulness. Like you go so long, like since we've had Deadpool in something, not Deadpool, and since we've had Daredevil so long since he's actively been Daredevil in something now, because it's been almost 1.5 years since She-Hulk. And it's been even longer since he had his own series. And then he just had that real slight cameo in the Spider-Man movie. Yeah. People are starting to kind of forget and move away from it. And the further you get away from it, the harder it is to get people to want to jump back in and watch it that aren't crazy people like us. Obviously, we're going to jump back in and watch it because, we'll watch things that aren't even good because maybe there's a good moment.
Yeah.
Charlie Cox is by far the living embodiment of Matt Murdock.
Yeah.
And I was super bummed when we didn't get the next season of Daredevil. And I thought there was no way these people were going to hold on 3 or 4 years for the contractual rights to switch back to Disney. And then we finally get told that, yeah, we will see him again. And they're thinking about making a Daredevil show. And then they were going to fuck it up by not making it season 4 of Daredevil. Moving on from some of the characters that people love, like Karen Page. I am over the moon ecstatic that most of these Defenders characters are going to be back. I think they all did a fantastic job. Even watching it again, I might have been a little harsh on Finn Jones. And I think I can't wait to see them all back, because it seems like that's the way they're working on. That's the way it's kind of trending. And John Bernthal is the Punisher is fucking fantastic.
Yeah, they need to bring some more Punisher action back. He's just.
Oh, I think he's going to get, if not his own movie, his own show. I just don't know how they're going to handle the violence.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they allowed it in Deadpool, so hopefully there's.
Well,
room
and
for that.
and Disney started bringing some of the R-rated stuff from the catalogs of the studios that they bought. So, like, even on Disney Plus, there's things there that are quite a bit more controversial. It's not the animation only, like everything G-rated that it was at its inception. So,
I mean, outside of the bigger storyline too, it looks like the Kingpin is going to be the big bad as far as the street level heroes, and he's going to be in some of the movies and most of the shows. And Vincent D'Onofrio kills it every single time he suits up for that.
Yeah. So, and I guess in other Marvel news, Blade has been removed from the 2025 calendar. So, I who knows what's happening? I mean, is it time to just give up on Blade ever happening?
I don't know, because I think it sounded in premise like it was going to be fantastic. It sounded like it. I mean, they couldn't have picked a better actor, right?
yeah, Mahershala Ali's awesome.
They just can't seem to get a script and a director right at the same time. And the problem is that Blade leads to bigger things. The Midnight Suns, it keeps getting thrown out there. So, and he's a big part of that. So I would love to see another season of Moon Knight. And I want to see all these characters kind of come together in an Avengers type crossover.
Yeah.
But,
it would.
It's one of those things where, I don't know why they keep moving directors and why they keep moving script writers and why they keep moving things, but there's got to be something to it. Maybe, I mean, they just, I think they just hired a new person to run Disney on the board. That just happened in the last couple of days. So maybe it's their decision, and that's why the news just came out about this. That
I think some of it is that I think they're getting killed. I think the decisions they made over the last 3 or 4 years are starting to catch up to them, and the bottom line is showing that some of the choices they made are wrong. And they're trying to, unlike Star Wars, they're trying to backtrack on a lot of that stuff and correct the ship before it's too far gone, because there are big things in the works, and I want to see them, and I want to see them done well, on the level of Infinity War. That's why I'm happy that the Russos are back in the director's chair.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. Hopefully they do get it, because you've got an amazing IP and a great actor, at the helm. So hopefully they figure this out, because I'd love to see a new Blade movie. And also, like, we had Wesley Snipes in Deadpool, so there's no reason to, it's like, everyone's excited about it. Maybe there's a way to weave them into it. So hopefully they figure something out.
Well, they could make a new Blade Trinity and put Wesley Snipes, Sam Mahershala Ali, and then Billy Bob Thornton.
Yeah,
throw them all in together and go that way.
I'd be in for that. And so one more thing new. So Cynic, tell me about Asmongold. What's up with that?
Well, Asmon is a counterculture streamer from, I believe, Austin, Texas, who started out as a Warcraft streamer so long ago, built up a following and kind of moved away from gaming, because gaming is in kind of the same state that cinema is, where TV has shined. Cinema's kind of fallen on its face. Gaming's kind of become the same way. So he kind of diversified himself and started becoming more of a reaction streamer. And, that's the highest end content right there. But he did usually have succinct and genuine ideas about the behavior of people and their motivations. And his niche was that he was kind of like a dirty dude. Like, he didn't clean his house. He only owned one plate. There was a lot of him cooking $2 steaks. Meanwhile, this guy is literally a multimillionaire. He's living with roaches, and he's a multimillionaire streamer. And things have kind of spiraled for him a bit. And he made the mistake of basically grouping everyone in uh, the Middle East as terrorists and Palestine and Gaza, and saying that he didn't care about them because their laws are fucked up, and he kind of hoped that he didn't feel bad for anybody that died because they're actively committing genocide themselves. And he made the mistake of grouping everybody together because unfortunately in that arena over there, there's a lot of innocent people dying that have nothing to do with radical fundamentalism. So he got suspended for 14 days off of Twitch. It sounds like they'll allow him back. He's one of their biggest moneymakers, and lesson learned. He of course released the apology video, and it did sound genuine. And he basically said, "Listen, I deserve it." And I personally feel that he has kind of been in his own echo chamber for so long, where if someone disagrees with you, it's as easy as just hitting the block button and making them go away, that you start to kind of believe your own bullshit. And you believe you don't open yourself up for new arguments or discussions if I can silence anybody that doesn't agree with me.
Yeah. And I think also that you have it's like for someone like that, they have a massive platform. And there may be an expert like for him. He's obviously an expert in what in that little niche he had. But you're not necessarily an expert on geopolitics, and that maybe maybe you should be very careful with what you say, and if you're going to speak on things, do your research and know what you're talking about, or have people who do on, because you're at worst, you're dealing with a situation like this where he's now got to apologize, or not. That's not even the worst. At best, he's dealing with that. At worst, he's like, manipulating, God knows how many people into believing things that just aren't right because they're going to worship him and follow anything he says.
Well, part of the problem that he did was he basically doubled down on everything he said right away, because he started getting called down it immediately after those things were said by him. And so I think his channel got shut down pretty quickly. And then he went on and appeared with Hassan Piker, who does a lot of this worldwide commentary kind of thing. He's a gamer as well, but he does a lot of political and world economic type podcast stuff, but it's more Twitch streamy. And he jumped on with him and started saying, well, look at all this dumb things that they do in their laws and everything else. And like Hassan Piker had to tell him, yeah, but you're literally saying that women, children, people that aren't involved getting killed is okay because you don't agree with the ruling class's laws, and that's fucked up any way you look at it. And when you go somewhere and double down and then come back, and one of his apologies on like Twitter or X or whatever you want to call it was half-hearted at best, and then I think he just kept getting hit by people, and that's why a more sincere thing that might have gone through 8 or 9 revisions or recordings before he releases it comes out. It's one of those things like, if you don't say the stuff in the first place, you don't necessarily have to turn around and apologize for everything. And everybody has said things that maybe they wish they hadn't said. But when you take a stance so severe that it's literally like, okay, with people being harmed.
Yeah.
Well, I, for one, we were just about to reach Battle of the Bastards on Game of Thrones, and I said I would come on here. And I'm regretting it a little bit because I was ready to see that fight again. But that's the weird part about Twitch, though, is that they pick and choose what offends them, because Hassan's know better than what Zach said or Asmund said, because he just basically shows recruitment videos for, Hamas and the Houthi rebels. And he actually had a pirate on that invades ships and was kind of talking him up and laughing at his jokes. And it's like it can't be both ways. Like you can't be, well, he needs to be ripped off the air for his beliefs, but meanwhile this guy is actively almost promoting terrorism and giving a base, a platform to terrorists, and glorifying what they're doing, and say that that's appropriate for Twitch, and what Asmund said isn't, because they're both not. So they both deserve an equal reaction, and that hasn't happened.
Yeah. All right. Well, yeah, it's one of those areas. Like, I think I'd heard a little bit about. Like, I heard the name going around, but I didn't really know what was going on with that whole situation. But yeah, it seems it's like, yeah, try to stay in your lane, and if you're not, like, you got to be sensitive to other people, and like learn, try to listen and learn, and not just speak in kind of broad generalizations like that, because it's just not true. But anyway,
well, any broad generalization you put on any group can't be true about the whole group.
especially when you're generalizing about broads. Thank you, Kevin Smith.
All right. So all right, so let's get to what we're watching. I've not been doing a lot, but I will say I'll call out one show that I've really been enjoying. So I think I'm 2 episodes in to the franchise, and I missed that panel at Comic-Con, and I'm kind of regretting it. But I'm really enjoying the franchise so far. It's like it's a great take on like superhero, like kind of, if especially for us who like follow all the different Marvel movies and DC and all the pop culture stuff, and like the back end and what's going on and all the production and all that stuff. It's really cool. It's cool to see a dramatized or comedy dramatized version of like what happens behind the scenes and all the craziness that goes on, and I'm loving it. I think it's really funny, really smart, well written, and also at 30 minutes an episode, it's like very digestible. Have you guys watched it so far?
I've seen the advertisements a ton of times, and it's on my list. But
Yeah.
right now, we're so wrapped up into rewatching Game of Thrones because of our D&D campaign that that's kind of been every waking moment. Besides, there's so much TV on right now that there's usually 5 or 6 shows that we're kind of behind. But it's definitely on the list.
Definitely watch it. It's fun. Ig, have you watched it all or no?
Not yet.
Okay.
Same with him, but I mean, it's just one of those things. Like I just got to set aside time, sit down, and put it on because I've heard nothing but good things about it. So I really got to just
half-hour episode, so easy to get through. And Justin, I'm pretty sure you have not watched that yet, right?
No, I haven't.
Yeah.
Like
and also, one other thing I want to say, Cynic, speaking of D&D, there was a massive D&D presence at Comic-Con this year.
Well, they're getting ready to release new handbooks for the first time in 10 years. I believe they went from 2014 to 2024 or to something along the lines of that. So yeah, the new editions are coming out. I have the problem is that the core handbooks, which is usually the players, the dungeon masters, and the monster manual, they're releasing them all at separate times. So I have the new player's handbook, and they've kind of implemented some of the rules on D&D Beyond, but I don't have the new DM's guide or the monster manual to run through and look at. So I think our campaign's probably going to stay 5th edition, even though that some of the changes they've made between the 2 different cores probably would help us. They're supposed to be backwards compatible, but I don't think that they 100% are.
Yeah. Ig, what about you? What have you been watching recently?
Well, I did start watching. I only watched the first episode of What We Do in the Shadows that's coming back. Love that, because I'm a big fan of that show. Jealous that you got to go to a panel with all the people there. Love that. Tulsa King is back, so I've been watching that. That's, all thanks to Cynic here, because like he turned me on to that. Yeah. That show is awesome. And it's like a way that you see Sylvester Stallone doing things that it's not in his normal wheelhouse. He does such a great job with it as kind of a New York gangster that you didn't expect that to come out of him. And then just a stupid movie on Netflix, because I'm king of the stupid movies, right? Yeah. Popcorn movies are my bag. If I can just sit down, be entertained for an hour and a half and not have to think too hard about it, that's where I'm happiest, because like I really just want the escape. And sometimes if things are too emotional, then I start getting emotional, and it drags me down for days sometimes. But the movie Brothers on Amazon Prime was another one of those popcorn movies. Yeah. Really good. Peter Dinklage is in it, so
Yeah, I'll definitely watch that. It's popped up in the advertisements on Amazon. Yeah. I have a Fire TV, so every time we turn on, we're just inundated with Amazon messaging and advertisements.
Yeah. So how about you, Justin? Are you watching anything?
A few things. So I'm continuing with Penguin, which I like more and more each episode. Yeah. I finished the Vince McMahon documentary, which I enjoyed very much. And I agree with what you said. He's he comes off, he's a sociopath 100%. There's no denying it. But I just love the I just love all the stories behind it, and hearing from the other wrestlers, especially Tony Atlas. He's hilarious. So I enjoyed that.
He kept trying to grab a Pekka.
Yeah, that was it's amazing. So there's a movie that I saw based off of one of the classic films, Rosemary's Baby, which if you guys have seen, it's just an all-time great. And there's a movie, Apartment 7A, and it has if you look, it's got a big cast. What's her name? She was the main actress. Remember in the that show? It was like a miniseries, I think it was in Netflix, about the fraudster New York City debutante who pretended to be, it's her, I forget her name, and some other really, a nice cast, and it was just really hard to watch and not good. It's like, look, nothing is going to live up to an all-time classic, but if it's something's unwatchable, it's just like, come on. And I'll tell you one thing that really annoys me about movies, and when I see it a lot, is when the motivations of characters who have no reason to be motivated in this way act incredibly sadistically just for fun. Like, and everyone's acting like that. There was one scene where she's trying to make it in New York, and she's talking to producers, and they're just immediately saying, one producer's telling her she broke her leg to jump up on your leg over and over, like he's enjoying it. Another one wanted her to get down and roll around like a pig. It's like, why? It's like, what are their motivations? It's just like everyone is just, when it paints just everyone as this like sadist for no reason. It's just to paint this picture. And when I started watching that, was really the first thing that really sort of annoyed me. I'm like, I don't like this when they just paint everyone with this broad stroke, just everyone is a bad guy. And it's just like, it really annoyed me. And then from there on, it just spiraled and is not worth watching. So if that movie pops up in your feed, don't watch it.
Don't watch it. Apartment 7A off the list.
Off the list. Don't waste your time.
I like when we get to what are you watching? This is a piece of shit. Yeah. Don't watch this.
Speaking of, there's a movie I can't decide whether or not it's not watchable. Unhinged with Russell Crowe. Basically, he plays. I mean, it's like it's hard to say. Like he's basically a woman. I forget if she cuts him off or he cuts her off. But basically, like it's like a road rage incident, and he basically goes crazy and tries to kill this woman.
Yeah, I've seen that.
So what do you think?
Yeah, that's pretty. That's a rough one.
Yeah.
There's a lot of anger behind those eyes.
Yeah, seriously.
And I mean, that was the point too, where Russell Crowe was kind of drummed out of Hollywood a little bit. So I think that the anger was real.
Yeah, quite possibly.
He's back now, but there was a time where he was kind of on the fringes.
Yeah. So Sidney, how about you? What have you been watching?
I mean, the last 2 weeks have been nothing but playoff baseball because it's my favorite time of year. However, believe it or not, and I was super skeptical of this going forward. I've been watching the season 2 of the Daryl Dixon show, The Book of Carol, and it's been great. I mean, they made one cardinal sin in this past episode. It was they made the zombies or the walkers run, and I hate that. Like, it goes against everything George Romero wanted for zombies. So that annoyed me a little bit. They went 28 days, and that's kind of sucked. But other than that, the show's been really good, and it's kind of leading towards bigger things. And I can't say enough how much I've loved the Penguin. Yeah. Like, it just gets better every episode. Yeah. The acting is fucking fantastic. And if you're not watching it, IG, you really should be, because you're making a mistake.
Maybe I'm just waiting for the season to get further along.
There is
binge.
You can binge. Yeah, there is.
I love to binge things. So
it.
Sometimes when it's weekly, unless it's like Star Wars, I have to watch it like almost within minutes of it coming out. Yeah. But some of these things, like, I get so upset about having to wait for the next week to see what's going to happen, that I would almost rather binge than watch each episode.
The problem with binging is that a lot of it doesn't go to long-term memory. And then when the next season comes out, I feel like I got to rewatch the season that I just previously
watched.
watched.
Game of Thrones again. So like,
that's why they made
nothing
recaps.
wrong with that either.
Yeah, but
that's 8 seasons of stuff you're doing, and like you're in season 6 or 7.
I've been enjoying Penguin in single episodes because it's such a good show. It's like you almost don't like I want to sit with those episodes, especially episode 4. One of those like singular episodes of TV. It's like up there with a lot whatever. My favorite. Like, I love the Fly episode of Breaking Bad, but not that it's like that kind of episode. But it is like it's one of those like it's just a single hour of TV that's fantastic. But yeah, no, it's a great show. Do a really good job with him, and again, like, it was cool being on that panel, getting some insight from the makeup artist, and from Colin Farrell as well, which is really cool.
Yeah, that monologue that Sophia Falcone did at the the dinner party
Yeah.
was some of the best TV in a long time. Like
Yeah.
you just go ahead and give her the Emmy now.
Yeah.
That was crazy good.
No, that's great.
What was she in before?
Well, she was the wife in Wolf of Wall Street, the first wife that he ended up
That's
leaving.
right.
She's from Cherry Hill, New Jersey, believe it or not.
She hadn't had that many big roles, but I guess this is going to be. I guess this will catapult her.
Yeah.
Good for
No,
her.
she's great. Like she was good. She was in
Yeah.
another show or movie. I forget what it
I
was called.
recognize her. I just couldn't pinpoint it.
Yeah. She was in there was a show with the guy from The Good Place. It was like I think it was like Hulu or something. I'm forgetting the name of the show. But it was actually really I enjoyed it. But yeah, forget it. Oh, she was in a season of Fargo too.
Yes, she was the sheriff's wife in season 1 of Fargo, and she was fantastic in that as well.
Okay. And the show she was on, it was The Resort. It was the show that she was in. It's kind of like a murder happens, and where they're solving some kind of mystery. I forget now, but it was really good. But all right, well, that's it for today. Didn't have a ton of news. If you guys, I don't know what you guys are doing, but I'm gonna try to check out Venom, and so I will report back on my Venom review next week. But
before you wrap up, I just want to ask: have you kept up with Agatha?
I want to, but I've been very busy, so it's been on the back
according to
burner.
the ratings, nobody's kept up with
Really? Because
Agatha.
I've read different. I've read that it's doing well.
I've read that it hasn't been doing
Okay,
well. So,
yeah.
So we'll have to compare sources.
Yeah, we'll have to compare sources because I didn't read that it was doing well, but I do want to keep. I was enjoying it. Like I'm totally fine with it. But it's like something had to go. It's been a busy few weeks, but I'm hoping to get back to it this week. But actually, Anna did not want to. She does not care. She's fine with watching on my own.
Yeah,
well, I think most of the time, if she's watching Marvel things, she's doing it for you anyway.
Yeah.
Like I don't think she cares about most of them anyway.
It depends. Some she does, but
If it's
not,
really well done, she
not
does,
Agatha. Yeah, she's kind of checked out for Agatha. So, all right, well, that's it. So, Justin, until next time.
Watch out for the hole.
All right, cool.
Yes, and sorry, man, I actually fell